Brian is back from Vegas, and BSPN is back from the Giants game where we all got together. What did you think of that night last week before my car got stolen? I think you're on mute.
I was about to say that, it was fun until that moment. I mean, me and Jay walked home. No, we took the bus home, and then I saw your text like an hour later, and I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad times. Uh, the game, Brad and I talked about it on Thompson and Clark. If you want to hear about Wednesday and Thursday, Brad and I got together. We hadn't seen each other like in person, I don't know, about 15 years. Because when you guys played in Reno, what year would that have been
I
for
know. I
AAU?
barely remember that. It was probably like my freshman year of high school.
Yeah, so not 15 years then. So probably like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and Rod came out as well. Rod from We Want Winners, and we got together. Fun times. But we're here to talk about Warriors hoops because Brian and his buddies, the BAM folks, went to Summer League. We'll talk about that in a second because I just want to get your perspective on the Lauri Markkanen situation, and if you believe that it's possible, if you think that Danny Ainge is posturing, if you think that it's kind of like the Warriors are just trying to be out there doing stuff, but it's not probable. Like, what is your take on this Lauri Markkanen deal?
Like, like taking it back a little to the Paul George thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Kawakami reports that the Warriors offered variations of like Wiggins, Kuminga, Moody, and picks for Paul George. And then I think it was like Ramona Shelburne that comes out and says, actually, no, Kuminga wasn't involved in trade talks. And
Mm-hmm.
so the reason I bring this up is because like I'm personally wondering, like, well, one, if Ramona's right, then that means that Dunleavy's kind of playing it a little safe and not offering everything that the team might want. Which we'll see how this, if they don't get anything, then I think that's a failed approach, because if this goes into the Lauri thing, it's like, okay, maybe he is like Danny Ainge is the ultimate like swindler of all GMs in the
Mm-hmm.
NBA. And you're not going to swindle Danny Ainge. You can't like play conservative and imagine that you're going to get Lauri Markkanen. So if he is playing it safe and say like, I don't think all three of Kuminga, Pajemski, and Moody will be involved, nor should they be involved. I think it should be a variation. Kuminga and Pods being the one that flips in and out, and then Moody's like for sure in it with the picks. Like I think that's what should be the trade. But I feel like Danny Ainge always gets what he wants. And we had a Warriors plus minus posted about 20 minutes before this podcast started. So
I heard about
to
15 minutes of it. Yeah.
I tried to listen to a little bit of it. And there's like something that has to do with some Lauri Markkanen extension on August 6th. And
Mm-hmm.
so we'll know by then, essentially. And not if he'll be on the team or not, but if he chooses to extend, he won't be on the team. If he doesn't, then I guess there's still time, of course, to make the trade, something like that. But I mean, this podcast has been on the train of they need a number two. And if they don't get one, like they don't have a chance. And we haven't recorded since Klay Thompson left, since Chris Paul left, since we got DeAnthony Melton, Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson. Like the cool thing about those pickups is those are contender level pickups, in my opinion, like down the rotation, like a playoff rotation. I imagine those three players will be involved, which are really good acquisitions, but it does not matter at all if there is no number two. So
Mm-hmm.
get it done. And if you don't, I think it's a failed offseason for sure.
I heard that the reason why Kuminga may have been off the table was at the request of Paul George.
Mm.
They mentioned that. But here's the other thing. This has kind of become a bit of a story in the last couple days. Pajemski has more trade value than Kuminga right now because of this kind of like the baseball thing. When you have options on the player, and you have team control on the player for many more years at a lower price, that player dollar for dollar is more valuable than the other player who's going to be up for restricted free agency at the end of this season. So it comes down to, if you're the Jazz, do you want Kuminga? And then at the end of this year, he's going to be a restricted free agent, which means anybody can sign him, and then you have to match or let him go. And that's going to be, we saw what Franz Wagner signed for. And, I think Orlando fans are probably a little bit happier with him than Warriors fans are with Kuminga. You feel a little bit more like you could trust Wagner than I think the Warriors fans think that they can trust Kuminga in big moments. But it's not like he had some amazing year last year. Like he was exposed a little bit in the playoffs, I thought. But still, like really good young player. And he signed for over $200 million. Like it was ridiculous. That is today's NBA. And if you're talking extension with Kuminga, those numbers have to be in the ballpark, right?
Oh, totally. Totally.
Draft, Kuminga's a higher pick. He's very he believes in himself. Like I mean it's that
He's
contract
arguably showed
scared
more.
me,
I think
but
I
more
think
from a
Franz
reality standpoint that it scared me than from like because we had to figure that this was the thing, but it was like that reality check, like, oh crap, that's what the number is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Franz on this team than JK, but Kuminga's arguably shown more to be like a promising number 2 option than Franz has, in my opinion. Now, I haven't watched every single Orlando Magic game, but Kuminga still feels like he'll get you at least like 17 if he's given the ability to. Whereas Franz, we've seen so many clunkers. But yeah, I mean, it's like even if you're Utah, like I bet there's like one player that the majority of rebuilding teams want in this upcoming draft, and his name is Cooper Flagg, a white guy that would love to go to Utah, like this, and he just played the USA. He was on the USA select team against all the Olympians, like Steph and Bron and all them, and he had a quote after the game. And someone asked him, who was your favorite teammate from the U.S. select team? And he said, Brandon Pajemski. And on top of that, with Utah, like I know there is this thing of like, okay, if we're a rebuilding team, we're not going to just willingly say no to a player because we have an overload of that type of position in our team. But you look at Utah's draft history in these past 2 years. Last year, Taylor Hendricks, forward, first round pick, 7th pick, or some first round 7th pick. I think their 30th pick in the first round. Bryce Sensabaugh, forward. This year, Cody Williams, J-Dub's younger brother, forward, 7th pick or something like that. And then their pick either in the first or the second round, the Duke kid, Kyle Filipowski, forward. So they've drafted a ton of forwards. And in their guard spots, they drafted Keontae George last year, who was pretty good, but he could play alongside Pajemski. And then Isaiah Collier this year, who was a top high school recruit that just fell to the end of the first round, kind of like Patrick Baldwin Jr. did a few years ago, where he was a top high school recruit as well.
Whatever happened to PBJ, by the way?
He actually got some run on the Wizards to close the year. A lot of injuries, and so I still think he'll be solid. But it makes more sense for them as well to want Pajemski more because they've just been drafting so much forward in these past 2 years. So yeah, if I were them, I'd want Pajemski more on top of the team control stuff.
Yeah, I think you brought up that date. And the thing is I don't know, like even if that date comes, it's about what Markkanen and the Jazz do or don't do around that date, whether it gives us any idea if he's going to be traded, because he could sign an extension, right? And then that changes, or he doesn't sign an extension, and then that changes things. So there's still so much curiosity around what that means. But like, let's say the Warriors wanted to do this deal before that date. Pajemski would have to be in that deal, I think. And I saw Joe Lacob big him up, future All-Star. I saw Draymond say he was going to be, the guy who takes over for Steph. So they're bigging this guy up big time. We saw what the Brandon Pajemski experience was like. It is mostly positive, and there's like, you're like, yeah, like
It's
if he could just do this thing, then he'd be way better. Or if he could just do this thing, then he'd be way better. So, we're hoping to see that he adds to his bag. He's probably never going to be super fast or super quick, but Steph was not super fast or super quick. He just worked on his footwork and his skill set. All that could happen with Pods too. But if I'm Utah, the reason why I'm even talking to the Warriors right now is so that Pods is in that deal, unless they just want an overload of picks, and then maybe Pods isn't that big of a deal. Because if I'm Utah, I don't want Kuminga because of the fact that you're going to have to pay him a crazy amount of money just to keep him.
I mean,
And
unless you think he's the all-star that a lot of people seem to think he'll be, then you do it, right?
but I don't know if you could tell that based on what we've seen. Like we've watched Kuminga more than anybody. Are you willing to put money on if he ever makes one All-Star game in his career?
I think I'd honestly put it at like 40% chance I do think he will be, and 60% chance I don't.
Okay, because
I
if
just
he's
think he could be
not,
one of those like fake stats all-star guys. Like, he averaged a lot on a bad team.
but if he's not an All-Star, you know who he is?
Brandon Ingram or something.
Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of not that Tobias Harris at some point in his career didn't provide value, but he is now a player that teams add to their team so that they could hit the salary floor. I think that's what Detroit did, right? Like they signed him probably for their salary floor, so they hit whatever that minimum number is. But that's the worry about JK. Now, we're fans of JK, so we're going to look at the upside. And last year was eye-opening, I think, for mostly positive reasons, but he had some negative stuff last year too. This is like a prove it or lose it year for him, I think. And he's still so young. But if you are going to pay this dude, he has to be a 20-7 guy for you. He has to be a bucket getter late in games when you need buckets. I'm not saying he needs to be Kevin Durant, with a 15 to 17 footer. It's a different game, but you need to be able to play him down the stretch. Steph gets doubled. He needs to be a guy you can count on to hit a big shot. I would not put money on whether he becomes that or not yet. I'm hopeful, very hopeful. He's got a lot of skill, but you watch him and there's apprehension. There's a slowness to pull the trigger, whether that's mental or physical, probably a lot of mental. That now they're bringing in Terry Stotts to help with the offense, and it's all motion, more adapting for the younger players to have to fit into this style that the Warriors want to play, which means less one-on-one for JK. And I think we probably think like that's probably the best part of his game is when he gets to go one-on-one. So I'm just of the idea that I don't see JK being a big part of the deal, except if just to make money work. And look, so a team like Utah, they should be open to all kinds of young players with ceilings and upside. But it's that looming $40 million. Because if JK was at the same contract status as Podziemski, then JK is probably a more valuable player to teams just because you see him, the physicality that he has. But if it's Brandon Podziemski for 3 years and you got to pay him $12 million for Jonathan Kuminga for 3 years and whatever you have to pay him this year, and then 25 or 30 or 35 each for the next 2 years, I could see why Podziemski is the higher value play for these teams.
Yeah, I mean, who would you want to, if you were the Warriors and contract had nothing to do with it? It's more so play style, who fits into your system. Who would you want to keep out of the Podziemski and Kuminga?
Based on their current roster, I'd almost say Pajemski, but that has to do with I just don't think they have good guards. Like you lose Clay, you add DeAnthony Melton, but he's also small. So now you have your three best guards are we counting? Well, Buddy Hield is a small forward.
I think he's like a shooting guard.
Okay, shooting guard, small forward, wing. But you're so three guys who handle the ball. They're all like 6'4" and under. They're I think they're all Pajemski and Melton are good shooters, but I don't think you would call them knockdown 3-point shooters. And that's where Buddy Hield comes in, is to be that guy, to be the new, I don't think he's going to take as many threes as Clay, but to be that high efficiency 3-point shooter. But like I think if they don't have Pajemski, where are they going to get a backup point guard? That is what scares me more than not having JK in this offense, because I think they can replace with the pieces that they have, whether it's Wiggins or Moody, a little Buddy Hield. Like you can probably replace Kuminga's activity, and I don't know if you can do that for Pajemski this season based on the roster they have.
Yeah,
I think opens up some time for Guy Santos.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you though. I just feel like Pajemski gets it on like all facets of just like the Warriors offense. It doesn't matter that he's acts like more of a rookie in terms of like remember like during the All-Star weekend where someone was like, who's your Mount Rushmore of basketball players? And he said Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Chris Paul. Like that was his Mount Rushmore. But it just goes to show like he's just all for it. And I feel like I don't know the last time I've seen like a young player with ceiling like kind of adapt as quickly as he did to the Warriors style, like him and Trace. I guess the Warriors, of course, weren't picking too high in previous years, but Wiseman didn't get it. Kuminga didn't get it for a while. Moody didn't get it. And now you could also say that those guys didn't really get as much opportunity outside of Wiseman. But Pajemski just like understands it. He just understands he's a role player, in my opinion. I don't know if I go as far as saying all-star, as Lacob said, but
he thinks that he's going to be the guy. Like I think he even had a quote saying, or somebody said that he said he's not there to be a role player. He's there to be an all-star.
Yeah, no, I think he's lying. I mean, I think he's wrong. But like Kuminga, I think has the higher ceiling without a doubt. But I just keep thinking about it like how I took an approach. I took like a 2 timeline approach, as a fan with the management, and just how quickly to see like that doesn't work. Like I'm so for maximizing now. And I think Pajemski maximizes the now for this squad if we were to get Lauri more than Kuminga does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you get Markkanen, you probably trade Kuminga would be my guess. I don't know what you could trade him for with that restricted free agency, because if teams really want him, they probably take their shot in restricted free agency and dare the Warriors to match.
The Warriors
that's an interesting thing, because they're going to want to stay below that second apron, and if you trade for Markkanen, you are extending him, and he's going to be your second highest paid player on the team. And you'd probably have to trade a Wiggins or a Kuminga just to fit just to not go over that second apron. So that will be an interesting thing. But hey, get the guy and then figure it out later is my thing.
Do we even have like a recent example of like restricted free agency more recent than DeAndre Ayton, where a player actually puts his pen on a paper of another team's offer sheet, and then their team matches it, brings them back, and then it's just like sour grapes for the rest of the season?
I was trying to think. The memorable one. I don't even know if you remember this.
Probably not.
But the Warriors put pen to paper on DeAndre Jordan, and then he went back to the Clippers. So that was the one that I remember. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has done that, because they usually get these guys re-signed pretty quickly. Like they don't, the guys who matter, they don't let them even get there, which is why the Kuminga thing is an interesting conundrum, because I don't know if the Warriors see him as that guy.
And if you're a team that's trying to get a player in restricted free agency, once you extend an offer sheet and it gets signed, I think there's like a 24, 48-hour window for the current team to match. And you're as the team that's trying to get the restricted free agent, you're like locked for like 48 hours on not being able to make any transactions. So that's why it usually never happens too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Did you see anybody you had your eye on and you were like, they're a lot better than I thought they were when you were in summer league?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Stephon Castle and Bub Carrington going into the draft. And I think for me, Stephon Castle, who was drafted 4th by the Spurs, I had a really big question mark on his 3-point shooting and the fact that he wanted to be a primary point guard. I think his camp put out there during like the combine that he was not going to take meetings with any teams that already had an established point guard. So LaMelo Ball from the Charlotte Hornets, Cade Cunningham from the Pistons, like he knew of like, you already had a lock at point guard. I don't want to take meetings with you. I don't want you to draft me. Whereas I was kind of on the side of like, I kind of like the idea of you paired with LaMelo Ball. He kind of makes up for the deficiencies in your 3-point shooting. You're like a tertiary creator, tertiary ball handler. Like I kind of like that. And then so I was a little hesitant when he got drafted by San Antonio. And then I watched one game in summer league and I was like, oh, he'll be fine. Like I believed that he could be a point guard. He was shooting it. Like I think he has the highest ceiling in this draft class if he's able to shoot the ball. And if he is, then we finally can probably stamp that there's going to be an all-star from this class. There's going to be an all-NBA guy from this class if he does it. So we'll see. And then with Bub Carrington, he was like this guy who I think had a growth spurt going into college.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those, like, you know, I played point guard my whole life. Then I had a growth spurt. So I still have point guard skills, but by height, I'm maybe not a point guard. I think he's like 6'5" or something like that. And he was playing point guard for the Wizards with Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick, and then Keontae George's little brother, Keyshawn George, I think his name is. Those were the rookies from that team. And Bub Carrington almost had a triple-double in his first game. And it was funny because me and my buddy were sitting by his family, and they were just loud for Bub Carrington. Like, they were super loud for him. And then there was this autograph signing after the game. It was the last game of the night. Autograph signing after the game. Me and my buddy go over there. Last year I did it too. Like I don't want the autograph. I just try to make like a little video after every summer league. Now I'm a few years doing it of just getting like clips. So I just wanted to like, be up close to Bub, get a clip of him signing an autograph. And we're sitting there for like 15 minutes. And then his family comes through. And I think it's probably like his sister or his mom or something. And she's just like so like animated, like, oh my God, they want his autograph. Like, I'm so happy. Like all these fans that had the Carrington jersey, the family was taking pictures with them. And then we're still waiting for like 5 minutes and they're still like loud. We're like, when the hell is this guy going to get there? And so I see like the summer league staff working and I could see they're on the phone and that one of the guys goes to get him. So I follow the guy just to try and get like a video of Bub coming up the stairs into the, what do they call that thing? I guess where the food is. And then where we're waiting for the signing. And then the guy comes up empty-handed without Bub, and I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" And the family's still like, so like, "Yo, you guys like can't wait to see my son or my brother, or like this is gonna be so awesome. I'm so happy that people are here waiting in line. They keep taking pictures with Bub Carrington jersey fans, and then they announce, "Yeah, Bub Carrington's not coming. Like we have to reschedule this." And his family are just like they like turn away. They like embarrassed because they were just like so hyped, and then the sun didn't come through. But that was a funny moment. But yeah, it was just last year. I feel like last year I made more of an outreach to like try and like talk to people. But this year I had so many friends that I was just kind of conversating with them. But if I go next year, I think I'm going to be a more network approach.
Was last year because of Wemby like way more wild this year, or was it similar?
I was expecting it to be way less wild, and it was, but still wild. There's 2 gyms, the UNLV's practice facility, and then where they play the big games, and they're connected in where I keep forgetting what that damn thing is called, but you know where you're like walking around trying to get to your seats, and there's food and stuff. So both gyms are connected.
The concourse,
the concourse. Thank you. It's connected by the concourse. And last year, I had a way easier time getting into the practice gym, which is the smaller gym where they usually put the not as marquee matchups, and you're just closer because it feels like a high school setting. So it's like kind of high schoolish bleachers. And then I had a way easier time accessing that gym last year in the Wemby year than I did this year. And it took forever to get in the gym. So I was a little shocked that I almost like part of me wants to go like not in the first weekend when it's so crowded. Like, because I go Friday, Saturday. Last year I went Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, what if I went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just to try and avoid all that crowd? There's still media members there that I could talk to. But yeah, it was not as crazy in the big gym, crazier in the small gym. Maybe just because people were over the top prospects. I don't know.
Why are the Warriors so good in Summer League?
It's because they don't have any rookies.
It's like all G League vets.
G League vets and Pods and Trace, who are both way too good to be playing Summer League.
Did you get to see them play?
Yeah, I caught like the first half and I was like, oh yeah, y'all are too good. Like there was nothing for me to see. No Gui Santos, no Quinton Post, no. I didn't even really see Pat Spencer check in if he did or not. I don't even remember.
Did Trace have a little bit of a jumper going, or is he just still dunking?
No. Yeah, he should have treated it like an All-Star game. Start chucking threes, but no, he didn't.
Who? Oh, forgot Bronny. Did you get to see Bronny?
So bad, but I guess he was good. I guess he was good last night, but I still think he'll be all right. I think he was trying to just.
He's small. Okay, you know what he reminds me of? He's small, and he's like so indecisive, like Moses Moody. It takes forever for him to figure out if he's going to shoot or not. And maybe that's just kind of getting up to speed. But when in the highlights that I have seen him, even when he's actually made a good play, I'm like, dude, you got to be so much quicker than that in the league.
I thought his first couple attempts, like he was pretty confident, and by the end of the game, like you could just hear fans like saying "shoot it," and like I don't know if he was listened and shot it, but he shot it when we said it wasn't a good shot. But yeah, he was doing a lot of self creation, and that's just not going to be his game. Like I feel like he's just going to be like, hopefully, Davion Mitchell maybe a little better. like that's
Davion Mitchell's so strong though, even though he is small. He's like strong and he's quick.
I feel like Bronny looks built, but yeah, I guess Davion's
Bronny got a little bit of like NFL running back kind of size. Yeah, I did notice that.
I want Bronny to be good because that'll cool
absolutely.
But yeah, good. No, it was a pretty tough watch. But
and what's interesting? His pops couldn't be around because of Team USA. So that was interesting. I wonder if his pops would have been around just to kind of, be there. Maybe a little bit less pressure off of him when Pops wasn't there. Yeah. Speaking of Pops, have you watched any Team USA?
Not really. I watched like the first half of the Canada game, and I haven't been able to catch it. I missed the recording of the second game. The third game, I thought I recorded it. I didn't, so I recorded a rerun. So I'll actually probably watch that after.
That was the Steph game. I would say the first quarter of the Serbia game was pretty competitive. Like Serbia for 12 or 10 minutes or 10 or 12 minutes, I forget what the quarters are. They just went after Team USA. They were physical, they were flying around, they were trying to put their imprint on, and then they played toe to toe. Then in the second quarter, then Team USA pulled away in the third quarter as well.
Did Jokic play good?
Jokic, he had to be a little bit more selfish, and you could tell that's not the way he likes to play. And by him being a little bit more selfish, he's less multidimensional. So it seemed like they were able to guard him a little bit better because they always had two bigs out there, whether it was Davis and Bam, or I guess Tatum's not really a big, but he's long, and Joel. So he was just surrounded constantly by long arms. So it was a little harder for him.
What do you think about Joel?
I don't like him on this team.
Neither do I. Like, he's technically our best player, but I feel like he's just so used to, having an offense where he gets to dribble in the post and have like a 5-out around him. And his team's too good to just let him do that. Like
Bam in the Serbia game, he was absolutely perfect. Like he was the perfect center. Like if you took out Embiid offensively, and you just put Bam in his spot offensively, the way that Bam played in the third game, then you have like a perfect lineup. But there will be opportunities for Embiid to, when they play against some smaller teams and he can just dominate. He'll get his touches and he'll get his easy scores, and they want to get him going early on, especially like LeBron. You could tell really wants to get him going. But there's going to be games where the other team is going to play a little bit more up and down, and he just doesn't fit because on offense, he has to dribble or like make a decision before anything else. And by that time, the offense is kind of slowed down. Like you watch the way that they play, like you watch Steph, you watch LeBron, even Booker and Edwards. Edwards is really the one who's probably going to like lead the team in usage rate just because he likes to dribble because he thinks he can take everybody off the dribble, and he probably can. But other than Edwards, everyone's just moving the basketball. And Edwards is kind of fitting that KD role that we thought KD was going to play, where it's like, okay, the other team scores like 3 quick baskets. Let's just get a bucket. And then Anthony Edwards is the one who usually scores. If they get KD back, that's going to be interesting to kind of see where they fit, because the way I saw it, I've watched 2 of the games. I didn't watch the middle game. Like you said, I missed it. I think Steph, Edwards, LeBron, KD, and Big, whomever the Big is, Davis, Bam. That team is probably the most well-rounded. Now, if you need someone to guard SGA, then maybe you take out KD and you substitute in Drew Holiday, because Holiday and Steph and Ant, the 3 of them together, it's like the perfect 3 guards in a lineup, and then you can almost play whomever else because all 3 of them can shoot. You have 2 ball handlers or three ball handlers at all times, and there's like no weakness. Now Steph will get targeted in some situations, but that's why Steve Kerr does these hockey subs where he just brings in fresh players, and it's like long arms and jumping ability and speed, like no matter where you turn. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see like what becomes the best lineup, like when they have to get buckets or when they have to get stops. That's going to be the fun thing. I still think there's going to be some challenges though, because they are almost overpassing and they're a little sloppy at times. I think they want to make each other happy and get each other backdoor dunks and get each other like alley-oops and stuff. And so some of it is a little bit overpassing. So there's going to be opportunities for the other teams to kind of, go on runs. But unless this team just stops cold and can't shoot, like if Steph just 0 for 7 shooting, I find it hard for them to lose. But Canada played them pretty tight. And some of this is kind of coming back at the end, but and that will probably change in the Olympics and the important games. But man, this tournament's going to be awesome. Like almost like let's say Team USA is still the clear favorite. Whomever is playing for second and third place, I think those games are going to be so competitive.
Yeah, I mean Canada, France, Australia, Serbia. I wonder, actually, I don't even know how Serbia compares to the rest of the field. I just know they had
some interesting athletes who could actually get up. I was surprised at how athletic some of those guys were, and they were not afraid, which was kind of cool to see, because there was a moment the USA was like super sloppy with something. And so I think it was AD was the only one back, and they threw like a long lob, and I was like, oh, AD's just going to snatch this lob out of the air. It went over his head, and the guy caught it and flushed it, and he was like surprised. He's like, where did that come from? Like, he's like one of those. But Team USA should definitely win the gold medal. But I'm really excited to see, because I think the level of play is just at an all-time high. Like, if you go player for player, this is probably the highest caliber basketball on the men's side Olympics, probably on the women's side too, ever. and so it's good. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Are you also excited for the WNBA All-Star Weekend?
I am very excited for that.
I'm so bummed that Sabrina and Caitlin aren't in the 3-point shootout.
It's some lame sauce, man.
Why? We haven't seen a why yet, other than that they both had invitations and they both did not accept those invitations.
Yeah, I don't beats me, man.
This is like the WNBA needed to put their foot down and say, look, you have to do this. This is Michael and Dominique in the dunk contest. You just have to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a given that at least one of them were going to do it, and neither of them did it. It's a missed opportunity. And I know Angel Reese, if there was a rebounding competition, she would have done it. Yeah.
The game in of itself, the All-Star game, features the women's team USA versus the WNBA All-Stars. Now, the last time they did this was 2021, and the WNBA All-Stars beat Team USA. I feel like Team USA is going to be out for vengeance. The WNBA All-Stars, they have a couple of rookies on that team. I think, that there will be some maybe physicality happening here. Hey, young bucks, this is our stage kind of thing. But I'm also excited to watch that game because, again, you're talking about high caliber basketball if they take the game seriously, which I hope they do, because if they do, it could be an amazing basketball game.
I mean, I think I love this format because there's a reason to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
If the WNBA All-Stars go on a stretch to start the game, it's like, okay, Team USA's got to buckle up and take it seriously. You don't want to get beat, twice in the 2 times they've done this. So NBA should take notes, man. The WNBA always does some cool stuff, like the in-season tournament that NBA ripped from them. They should rip the All-Star format too. It's a great idea. Of course, it lines up perfectly for the WNBA in terms of dates, but the NBA's they should do a fan selected team for All-Stars. And then, yeah, there it is. There's the fix. Fan selected one team. The other team is everybody else, and everybody else is butthurt, so they take it seriously. And then the fan selected team has to turn it up a gear.
They were gonna do a USA versus the world kind of thing at some point, which could have been interesting because there's nothing that would drive LeBron and Katie nuts as having a lot of the players with the European descent just kick their butts.
Draymond would not be allowed to attend that
game. Oh man, they just banned him from the building.
No TNT side broadcast. He doesn't get to do anything.
Do you have any thoughts on what to expect? Because I've never watched the WNBA All-Star Weekend. I don't know if you caught any of it last year. Is what because obviously there's not a slam dunk contest. So if there's a 3-point shootout, there's a skills competition, and then is that it, or do they add something else?
I think their filler was I listened to the WNBA podcast yesterday from The Athletic, so I got a lot of info. I know they're doing this thing called WNBA Live, which I almost think replaces the day of celebrity game, rookie versus sophomore game. And I think WNBA Live, the way it was kind of explained to me is all these brands fill out this convention center, kind of like NBA Con. Once again, NBA taking something from the WNBA.
Was NBA Con anything this year?
I don't even know if they did it. It sucked so bad last year.
That's what I was wondering because I didn't hear anything about it.
It was such BS. I would have been so mad if I paid a lot of money for that thing.
Yeah.
But it's I think what I heard from the podcast is if you attend, bring a suitcase because these brands, I think they call it activation. They just start shoveling out
stuff. Yeah,
they're giving you stuff. And so
cool.
One of my buddies is in Phoenix, so I just told him to go to it, but I doubt he did. But I would have loved to attend that. That sounds like a lot of fun because one of the brands I like for clothing for the WNBA is doing something as well. But I think that's a cool thing. And I mean, All-Star, of course, like a who's who, like a lot of the college stars, like I'm sure Paige Beckers will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget, I think it's just a lot of like players with their branding, like a lot of the, say Cameron Brink was an All-Star and, she'd bring like New Balance to like, I don't know, have a talk or give out stuff. Like, I think it's a lot of stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
cool.
I want to see like the viewership for this stuff, because obviously with the Caitlin Clark effect, she's going to be on both days, and so she'll have an effect. And I think people think it's going to be the highest rated All-Star game in WNBA history, which
Probably.
is really cool. And yeah, Angel and Caitlin on the same team, and the two sides are going to have to unite. The two fan bases are going to have to unite and be on the same team this time, and that'll be fun. But yeah,
That'd be
so
so cool if a Caitlyn miss three, Angel offensive rebound, kick back out to Caitlyn,
mhm.
logo three or something like that would be an insane video, an insane highlight clip.
Yeah, I mean, let's not let's not believe that if they thought that they could be good on the same team, that there aren't the same machinations that happen at the NBA level that could be happening at the WNBA level.
Not as rookies.
No, but if you, I don't know how long the rookie deals are,
Neither do I.
but you know, if like their style of play kind of fits perfectly together, right?
Totally.
The
I just think
defensive rebounding, and then the point guard,
each
who
player
shoot.
has become each of their city's darlings. Like, not only the player that they're willing to like rebuild around, but like almost like a culture type of selection as well. I can't imagine Angel right now. I know they're rookies. I can't imagine either of them not being on their respective teams. But I agree with you. They're great together. It's like
All right.
LeBron.
Yeah. So we will. This is going to be the only show this week on this
We didn't even talk
network.
about Klay Thompson. Were we not gonna? We
Oh,
had a
I already,
bet. We had like
I
a fake
yeah,
podcast
yeah,
bet.
yeah.
I
So
said he'd leave. You said he
the
wouldn't.
reason why I didn't mention is because Rod and I did that show last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, where we talked about it. But yeah, if you want to talk about Klay,
I don't really got much to say. I know we made a fake podcast bet. I said he'd leave, but the reason I said he'd leave is I thought someone would throw him a bag. No one did. He left because it was like a sour ending.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, what we didn't know, I think, at the time, is that the Warriors' strategy was basically like, we have all of these priorities, and we hope that you will kind of wait after we're done and then see what happens. And he was like, no, I'm a priority. Why should I have to wait? You should take care of me first and then figure out all those things after. But once the Warriors decided that they were not going to go over that second apron, that was his fate right there.
bummer, man. Good
Are you going to
guy.
buy any
I already have a
discount
Klay jersey.
jerseys?
I
Oh,
bought a
okay.
discounted one last year, but maybe I'll go to the
Okay.
shop and see.
Well, if you do go to the shop, I still need my Valkyries snapback. I think they finally came out with them.
Yeah, they might have. I saw that post as well. I don't know if they're snapbacks.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were snapbacks or fitted or stretch fit or whatever. I couldn't tell, but that at least they have some new merch coming out for the Valkyrie stuff, so that'll be fun. Because are you wearing your is that your second Valkyrie shirt?
I got 2 free ones when I went to the block party, and then I purchased a Nike t-shirt for Valkyries, and then I purchased a Playa Society hoodie, which is my favorite WNBA brand.
Oh, Playa Society. So they have an act.
PLYA.
They actually have a
PLAYA.
a brand deal with WNBA.
Playa Society. I think they have a brand deal with the WNBA, but they were the ones that helped unveil, like, on when the Valkyries like announced their team name, opened up the team shop. Like, Playa Society, I think I partnered with them to put up like 3 things of clothing. My girlfriend got me Playa Society Valkyries shorts for my
cool.
birthday. So we're waiting for those to come in, but I'm excited for those. Yeah, I'm all Valkyried out. Like, we need to start having guests. We need to reach out to Xena Kata, see if she wants to be on, talk about some Valkyries. Warriors news is going to die down quick.
You're still supposed to do some research and find us a Valkyries podcaster.
Yeah.
All right. So Brad and I did a show on Monday. This is our basketball show. No football show. Next week, there will be no baseball show because Brad is going to be out of town. And we'll figure out if we're going to be weekly or every other week at this point. Because of the Team USA stuff, we may have stuff to talk about. But even if we skip a week, when we do come back, I think it'll be right smack dab in the middle of Olympic basketball. So that we'll have something to talk about. But I do think that Rod and I are going to be back next weekend because 49ers training camp it started for rookies, and I think vets come in next week. So by next weekend, Rod and I should have some 49ers stuff to talk about. So, all right, that is it from here. For Bri, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.